Hi there. Today I have a Q&A episode for you. I'm going to answer a question that I recently received from a parent. If you're interested in submitting a question for me to answer in the future, follow me on Instagram where I'll solicit questions there. My Instagram handle is at Sleep and Wellness Coach. Hi, I'm Allison Egidi, a pediatric sleep and wellness coach and a mom of two. I love to help parents find solutions. This is How Long Till Bedtime. Today's question comes from Kelly. She said, "My 16-month-old's sleep has gone off the rails now that we've transitioned him down to one nap. He's tired every morning around his old morning nap time. We've been trying to gradually push his nap start time out to get him to a midday nap, but he struggles to make it until even 10:30 a.m. And then when we put him down, he only sleeps 1 hour and is exhausted the rest of the day. To make matters worse, he's starting to wake even earlier in the morning. Help." Okay, first of all, Kelly, I want to assure you that you are not alone in this struggle. This transition down to one nap is one that I hear about often, and it's very common for this to feel like a real roadblock, which is why I decided to answer this question today. The transition from two to one nap is often the hardest nap transition that our kids will go through because it requires a big shift in the timing of their sleep. That's why it is so tempting to try to gradually push the start time of the first nap until you reach that ideal midday nap. So parents often go for this gradual push, which, in their defense, this is recommended in a lot of places online. The first problem with taking that approach is that you suddenly have your child napping in what I would call no man's land. They aren't napping in line with a 2-nap rhythm or in line with a 1-nap rhythm. This is why you will often end up with a nap that is too short. It's because it's out of alignment with their circadian rhythm. It's really important to remember that your circadian rhythm doesn't vary by more than about 15 minutes on any given day. So if we suddenly have our kids napping in off times, it can really throw their rhythm off. The second problem with this approach is that even if they take a decent length nap when they're being put down in this mid to late morning time, they're going to have a really long runway to get to bedtime. That means that they're likely going to end up going to bed overtired. And as you learned in episode 1, going to bed overtired can result in a too early waking in the morning. So it's really important that when we go through nap transitions, that we forge ahead to the ideal start times for the naps or the nap if we're going down to one, and we stick with our bedtime start window, which has a little more flexibility because we have a rescue window in there, but that we keep their rhythm consistent. So they're napping within about a 15-minute start window. Their nap time should stabilize so you know how long they're napping each day, and then they're going down with a consistent bedtime and then having that rescue bedtime to use on an off day. So what is the best way here to approach this transition from 2 naps to 1 nap? The best way is to go ahead and push through to the ideal 1 nap timing, and then use that rescue bedtime that I mentioned if your child needs some help adjusting. With a 1-nap schedule, the vast majority of kids are going to have their strongest pull to sleep between 12 and 12:30 p.m. That means this is the time where they should be able to fall asleep pretty easily, and they should sleep for the desired amount of time, which for most kids, when you transition down to 1 nap, it's going to be 2 to 2.5 hours. Some kids it's as little as 1.5, but if they were napping 2 to 2.5 hours on a 2-nap schedule before the transition, that's what we're targeting for the 1-nap schedule. When you're first transitioning, I recommend pushing to the 11:30 a.m., 12 p.m. window. So that means you're not putting them down any earlier than 11:30 a.m., and you're actually trying to get as close to 12 p.m. as you can. And then within a week of you moving through this transition, you really want to have that nap starting right around noon. If the nap ends up being a crummy nap, so really under 2 hours, then I want you to go for rescue bedtime, which I won't totally dive into in this episode, but for most kids, that's going to be 6 to 6:30 p.m. If the nap is a solid 2 to 2.5 hours, but your child still seems tired in the late afternoon or the early evening, do not hesitate to put them to bed earlier to help their body adjust to this new schedule. So if you stick to forging ahead to getting to that midday nap, and then you stick with a consistent bedtime or even using the rescue bedtime as needed, then your child should be adjusted to this new schedule within about a week or two. But I want to make a note here that as you push to get to the midday nap, it may feel really tough and your child may be really struggling. In fact, I can tell you that when I pushed my oldest to the one nap schedule, which I did it too late because I, similar to many parents I work with, saw how tired Addison was in the morning. And I felt like it would be torture to not let her take a short morning nap or to try to push slowly to get her to the midday nap. It didn't work until we ultimately made the push all the way. But when I did it, I have this very, very vivid memory of trying to keep her awake and feeling like I was torturing her. In fact, my best friend from college was visiting from New York City and she didn't have kids at the time. And I remember her saying to me, "It looks like you're torturing your baby," because as she was sitting on the play mat, she was literally trying to fall asleep. I would kind of have to jiggle her and be like, "Oh, no, 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 don't fall asleep." And I would have to walk outside and bring her back in. And I had to actively work to keep her awake to get her all the way until noon. So I just want to acknowledge that this can be a hard push when you're first trying to transition your little one down. But if they are 15 to 18 months and it's very clear that the two nap schedule isn't working, then this is the push you need to make. And it can take a few days, up to a week, but really by the end of 2 weeks, you're going to notice a really huge difference that your child can now make it until noon, that they'll take the proper length nap, and then they can make it to bedtime. So I do want to throw out there that it can be hard to make that push initially, but it is a complete game changer when you can power through. All right, Kelly, I hope that this helps you, and I hope that this helps any other parents currently transitioning their child down to one nap or preparing to transition them down to one nap in the coming months. And like I said, if you're interested in submitting a question for a future episode, follow me on Instagram at Sleep and Wellness Coach is my handle. And thank you for joining me for this episode of How Long Till Bedtime. I hope you'll come back again. Bye for now.